face unique challenges in life and often find themselves in vulnerable situations. Access to education is not just a basic right but a critical lifeline for these children. Schools provide not only knowledge and skills, but also stability, a sense of belonging, and opportunities for a brighter future. But what if schools have been moved, displaced, and classrooms and sleeping areas demolished? What happens to their basic needs? Food, clothes, and shoes? Well, there are good people in the world making a difference in the lives of these children. And one of them is Dorcas Destiny International. Donna Werner, the founder, is a skilled and highly effective leader, trainer, facilitator, and administrator. Donna started her career in the financial services industry in the mid 2000s and has been successful in assisting individuals, families, and business owners to understand and develop a financial plan that includes a solid base of insurance products. And of course, her passion for learning and education resonates through her work for Dorcas Destiny International. Pleasure to have you on the podcast, Donna. Welcome.
Thank you so much for the opportunity to share this morning.
Donna, tell us, what was a turning point that founded Dorcas Destiny, and was there an incident, or was it something that was in the pipeline for a long time and then saw the light of day eventually? How was it?
Well, it wasn't a turning point. It was really an opportunity. I had the chance to attend a conference in Toronto in May 2016. And at that conference, had the opportunity to share with some people and meet some people from other countries. One of the people that I met was my friend now, George Maseda, who is from Kenya, East Africa, and he told me that he had recently started a school in the village where he grew up. And in our conversation, he asked if I would assist him with the school. And being a person who believes in God and divine providence, I said, I think this is something I should do because I believe that God would have me do it. So I said yes, and ended up a year later making my first trip to Kenya. Mm-hmm. And in that first trip, I had the opportunity to spend almost 3 weeks there. I went with a friend of mine, and we got a chance to see that the conditions that we had been told were really the conditions that were there. Mm-hmm. We spent a week in Nairobi, which is the capital of Kenya, and we spent another week in the village where my friend George is from, and was really overwhelmed and in a sad way surprised at the conditions that people were living in, and particularly the children. So I immediately came back to the US, and I don't even think I had taken my coat off when I sat down at my computer and I did my 501c3 application here in the US and sent it off and was awarded the 501c3 status. And since then have had an additional 10 trips over to Kenya and take teams with me to go do the work. And it's been an amazing experience over these 6 years.
Yeah, I'm sure it is. But when you decided to start with helping the community, was it the children specifically that you wanted to help out with? It started with the school, you said. Now, apart from the school, there is a community that supports education. There's a community that supports children as such, their families, the background, the environment, everything. So how did you decide to focus on only the children and their requirements?
Well, I really didn't decide only to work with the children, because one of the things that I know is that the adults raise the children in their image. So if the adults are living in a situation of poverty and domestic violence, or whatever the situation is, good or bad, the adults will raise the children in those same conditions. So therefore you continue to perpetuate generations of good or bad. So it was very important to me to also work with the adults as well as the children. I believe that one of the ways to touch the heart of people and to really provide an impact is to feed people. My father taught me that, you never turn somebody down if they want food. If they want food, you have food, you give them food. So one of the things that we have done consistently is provide food and those basic needs, as you mentioned in the intro, shoes, clothing, school supplies, and those kind of things. But we also have worked with the adults. We've brought a sewing class, crochet class, working with the farmers and doing things with the adults so that the adults can eventually be in a better economic situation so that they won't ultimately have to rely on our support, but they will be able to raise their families. So we're actually working with both the children and the adults.
Right. So you have a team in Kenya and you have a team that's working in the US. And how do they collaborate?
Via just like we're doing. So one of the things that technology has afforded us is the opportunity to work remotely together. And when we go on site, we do have those opportunities to literally touch. One of our programs that we have ongoingly is called Education Crosswalk, where I have invited people from right now the US, but literally could be from around the world, to provide virtual teacher professional development to our family members, and we call them family now because we are like family, to our family members over in Kenya. And that particular program now, they're actually going to do a virtual choir because I have a
wow.
very,
That's so cool.
Yes, I'm very excited. I haven't seen any of the pre-work, but one of the women I know who's very anointed, classically trained, professional singer, teacher, vocalist. She's been working with them, and she will be working with them ultimately for 12 weeks. So that's different from what we originally had started, because we were initially focusing on teacher professional development. But teachers, just like everybody else, we're whole people, So you have needs for not only how to be a better educator, but how to be a better person, how to exercise your gifts, your talents, your skills. So as I've invited people to participate in Education Crosswalk, you had this opportunity with our instructor now. Her name is Shanka Pettis. And she said, well, I would love to do that. And we've kind of morphed this whole virtual choir thing. So it's been pretty fun.
Is it going to be a ticketed event?
I was already wondering how we'll be able to make revenue from this. So we have to figure out how to make money, but there's a creative idea out there somewhere so we can make money from this whole venture.
Yeah, that's amazing. And even for fundraisers, do you have any events or activities where people go out, you have dinners or galas where you are raising funds for what you are doing? I know of one lady who hosted dinner parties, and she invited all the who's who and everybody, and they donated shoes or money for that. Is that also something that happens in your organization?
Well, oddly enough, because of, you read my introduction, one of the things that I do in financial services is I travel quite a bit. So our first live event was a year ago. We turned 5 years old last June, 2022. That was our first live event in 5 years. The fundraising and the money that we've been able to raise to support our work has been primarily word of mouth and social media. So that first live event was an amazing event. We had 42 people that came. I cried all day because people were still calling and trying to come, and I was so overwhelmed. So it was a great opportunity. Since then, we've participated in various other events that other people have launched. So if someone has a Christmas fair or some kind of a vendor event, we've set up a table and we've actually sold things from Kenya, including purses, jewelry, fabric, and so on. So we've done some of those kind of things, but pretty much everything has been word of mouth. I've been inviting people to. Yeah. So I've invited people to do things like, spare change campaigns, or to invite me to their church or their group, or, whatever, to make sure that we are able to spread the word. But yeah, so one of the things I have wanted people to do was, invite us into your home, invite us into your sphere of influence, and let us share our story.
Yes,
yeah.
Right. So I'm sure running a nonprofit is not easy. You have so many things to do and very little time and very little funds, even little funds, I would say. So how do you manage with both these aspects, the time aspect as well as the money aspect? Money, you just mentioned, the fundraising.
Mm-hmm.
But what are the challenges that you are facing currently, and what is something that you would want?
Well, thankfully, I do have a job, so my personal needs are met through my career. Thankfully, because I had someone ask me one time, "Well, how much of the money that you raised goes to help you go to Kenya?" Zero, none of it. I have what I call a day job, so I work, and the Lord is faithful. He's provides the resources I need to do what I need to do. But the challenge is, sometimes people have a misconception that in order to donate to a nonprofit or any other organization, you have to have a lot of money. And I've had people tell me, well, I want to give you a big donation, so I haven't donated anything yet. And I have said to them, more than one person, I really admire the fact that you want to give us a big donation, but we're feeding children every day. So if you can come up with a little something that can go with the other little somethings, and it'll all add up. I have one donor, she sends us $5 every month. And I can count on that $5. And if I have 10 more people that donate $5, I'll have $10. So that's one of the challenges is, people wanting to do more than they feel that they can do, without realizing that our needs are ongoing. So even if they do something, it's better than nothing. That's one challenge. And then the second challenge is having a need for other human resources in terms of people who can, for example, coordinate Education Crosswalk. For example, write a grant proposal. For example, run a fundraiser on our behalf. So there are many things that are necessary, and thankfully I just recently relocated to another area in the state of Illinois, and I do have a couple of local people now who said that they would assist me with various things, but they're also working that into their existing schedules, being a mother and a wife and a this and a that. So sometimes we take a back seat to everybody else's priorities, where I can't let it take a back seat, because I'm very aware that I have 600 children that I need to feed every day. So that's part of the challenge, is keeping everything going while needing to do what I need to do, and trying to nudge the people who do say they want to help, and feel like a juggler.
Yeah.
Like just juggling balls all the time.
Yeah, but you're doing a very pretty job. So because I go to your website, and I did a little bit of research there, and I found out that you're doing so many things.
Yeah.
And it is not easy when you are already doing something, when you are living your own life and dealing with the challenges that you have. Finding the time to do something for someone else really takes some effort. And here on this podcast, I would like to acknowledge that. And I would like to acknowledge all these people, all these wonderful people who are taking the time genuinely out of their personal lives and, tending to the garden, so to say.
Right, and let me also say that one of the things that is important for people to know, even in the midst of what you just shared and what I just shared, I also assist another school. I'm on the board of another private school. So I'm doing what it is I'm asking people to do, plus doing it for Dorcas Destiny International, because I believe that, the Pareto principle, the 80-20 rule, you find 20% of the people in the world are doing 80% of everything. So I'm part of that 20%. So I'm not just doing my job. I have a husband, I go to church, I have a nonprofit, and I'm also assisting other people. So we call all the 20%ers forth.
Yes, and here's to the 20%. What would you want? You talked about wanting volunteers for grant writing or for. So is virtual volunteering also a thing with your organization? Would you want somebody like that?
Absolutely, absolutely. Because, thankfully these days you don't have to be face to face. Sometimes it helps to be face to face, but depending on the type of work that's done, you don't have to be face to face. So, for example, our social media manager, Leo is in Kenya. Mm-hmm. So he's doing all of our social media. He's drafting our newsletter. He's doing all of those things from 10,000 miles away. And Sharon, the young lady that heads our educational enrichment program, she's also in Kenya. We have a whole team in Kenya doing the work on the ground. So the administrative pieces, those are things that can be done from anywhere. Researching, writing, finding other opportunities for us to share what it is we're doing, making phone calls. One of the things that just came up recently, there's at our school that I'm on the board of, one of the art teachers was looking for grant opportunities for the school, and she found something that would be potentially helpful for Dorcas Destiny International, because we do have a shoe campaign. So she said, well, maybe we can reach out to some shoe manufacturers and have them donate shoes that the children can paint on. Well, that's a great idea. Do I have time to do it? Not right now. But it's something that somebody can do from anywhere, because shoe manufacturers are all over the world. So there's that kind of thing that could be done that would provide a real impact for the work that we do. So that's an example. In addition to Education Crosswalk, there's already a virtual education program that's in place now.
Great. What is the biggest need today, Donna? If I were to ask you, what is the biggest need that Dorcas Destiny International has?
You've probably heard this 100 times, but money is always a big need. One of the things that we're looking to, right. So one of the things we're looking to do is to purchase a building. So finances is one of the things that's necessary. But again, that's something that we could deal with remotely if someone knew of opportunities for people to donate buildings, donate materials, donate expertise, donate labor, find grant proposals. So I guess research is probably a big thing, because we can research ideas and then move to act on them. So that's part of that remote work that could potentially be done, to find out what are the opportunities for us to raise money, what are the opportunities for us to write a grant proposal, and those kind of things.
Yeah, all right. And in terms of the orphans, this is, of course, what the nonprofit requires, but the orphans that are there in the schools, the condition is slightly better because you are helping out. But what is it that these children need most? These are the resources. Do you have issues with substance abuse? Do you have issues with mental health? Are these also problems that exist?
They are problems that exist, and one of the things is you really have to call them out because they're not immediately apparent. So one of the things that has been extremely helpful is to have our team there on the ground, because the team from the U.S. that goes over, we only go over once or twice. I mean, I've been to Kenya 3 times this year already, but then when I go, I'm doing other things to kind of sustain the organization. But the people on the ground have found out many things that we didn't even realize were an issue. For example, in the village, we found out that there was some inappropriate sexual things that were happening, as you can probably fill in the gaps on some of that. We recently had a suicide from one of the teenage girls over there, and had we not had our team on the ground, we would not have known anything about that. So the same things that happen with human beings anywhere happen with human beings there. And because we do have people on the ground who have been able to build those relationships, because again, like I said, those things aren't necessarily apparent, but those relationships have really driven and written to what it is we need to provide in the way of services. One of the things that we found out about over a year ago was in Kenya, and you probably saw that we have a prison ministry called SOAR, Special Operations and Redemption. We found out, we had been going over there for 4 years, and found out just recently that if you're a woman in Kenya and you have children under the age of 5, they're in jail with you if you don't have anywhere to take them. So if you don't have a family member or someone you trust, your children are in jail with you. And that's, in my estimation, that's not the best way for a child to grow up.
No, definitely not. Yeah.
And one of the things that we want to do through our existing relationships is to cultivate other healthy families who can take care of these young children while their mothers are incarcerated. Keep them in touch with them. Give the woman hope that she knows her child is taken care of well, and through that, it'll give her the incentive to do what she needs to do to come home. And then when she comes home, she can get reunited with her family and those kind of things. So there are all kind of issues that we have found out about that we're trying to address.
I understand. Yeah. Right. I know that's what my question was. In the sense, you are trying to do so much for the community, for the school, for the students, but there are other issues that are, also there, which are probably eating up into your resources and the time of the people. So it's a like you said, you're juggling everything.
Yeah.
Well, So, if you were to change something today, with regards to the orphans or with regards to administration or the system, I'm talking in general terms right now, I'm not talking specific to your organization or your school, what is it that you would advise people who are listening to this podcast to do in terms of understanding, being empathetic, or doing something for the community?
I would say, well, I'm of the opinion that every single human being on this planet has a purpose for their lives. And I think if even half of us, even a tenth of us, were doing something in the direction of that purpose, that the world would be a totally different place. So with that being said, I think what I would say is that everyone should find something that's their passion, because I know, people that I know and people I've talked to, not everybody has a passion for Kenya. Not everybody has a passion for children. Some people have a passion for senior citizens. Some people have a passion for whatever they have a passion for. Do something about it.
Yeah.
Do something about it. Don't just sit and say, oh, well, that's terrible, and oh, there's so much. But, everybody can like I've heard my pastor say, which is totally true, complaining is not an action. And human beings love to complain. Well, you complain, but then what are you doing about the thing you're complaining about? Write a letter, donate to an organization, take some time out to feed the homeless. Just do something. Don't just complain about whatever it is you find bad in life. So that's what I would say. Just take some kind of an action with whatever it is you're passionate about, whatever you're angry about. One of the things I've always heard people say is, the things that make you sad and the things that make you angry, those are the things that are part of your destiny. So you should do something about those things because you're passionate about them.
That's a good way to remember. Things that make you sad, things that make you angry, those are the things that you have to work on. Thank you for that advice. And on that note, I will close this episode today. Thank you so much for talking to us, Donna. It was lovely getting those insights.
It was my pleasure being here. Thank you so much for the opportunity.
The situation that orphans are is deplorable. But thanks to organizations like Dorcas Destiny, addressing educational needs, nurturing potential, and seeing a path towards a more promising and empowered life is possible for these children. See you again in the next episode. Till then, goodbye.